Tal Kadosh, Boker Or, Mishna Yomi Masechet Baba Metzia, Perek Hamishi, 5th chapter, Mishnah Gimel and Dalid, 3 and 4. Okay, let's start. Machalot Asadeh. The Mishnah is discussing another case that a person sells a field to another person. Okay, so you sell the field to another person. You only give him a part of the money. He tells him, whenever you want, bring the rest of the money and take your field. And it's going to be yours, right? Now, however, though, what happens if you don't bring the rest of the money? It's nullified. Asur. It's asur to do that. Either for the buyer or for the seller to take the crops. That means nobody could eat the fruits. He says, why? Because then you could have a problem of ribit, of midrabanan. Because if the field ends up belonging to the buyer, so anything that the seller took is ribit, right? And if the field ends up staying with the seller, so anything that the buyer took is considered, right, ribit as well. So therefore, it's a problem. So nobody can eat the fruits. It's in no man's lands, right? What happens if someone lends another person money on the security, meaning that they put the lien on the property, right? Like nowadays, what they do for mortgages and all these things, yeah? And he tells him, if you do not give me back the money within the next 3 years, so then it belongs to me, right? So he says that, and then the field belongs to him from now. So right? The borrower, if he does not pay back within the 3 years, it does actually belong to him. And therefore, right, he never actually was really paying a loan. It wasn't like a loan, but a payment of the field. So therefore, he just bought it at a cheap price. That's what Baitus Ben Zonim used to do with the approval of the rabbis. Okay, that's what he used to do. Okay, he just says that it's halacha, we're calling the practice of Baitot, right? That they lived right after the destruction of the second temple. He says that they would make this kind of a loan with approval of the rabbis of that day. Meaning they would do it in such a way that they would buy it in a cheap fashion, in such a fashion that basically it's like a lien. And then he says, if you don't give me the money within 3 years, then it's mine. And then that's what happened. Okay, fine. Now we're going to speak about investments. It's Mishnah Dalit. Okay, investments. Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's see. Which one? Okay, let's see. So now it's common in the Mishnaic times, right, for a person who had money to invest or merchandise to sell, right? So to make a deal. Okay, so what are they making? They're making a deal with a broker to take the merchandise and find buyers for it. So basically, it's like a middleman. Right nowadays, there's also people that they do that. They try to take the product, they try to be the middleman, and they try to make the money in between. Right? So what happens? He says, or to buy merchandise with the money and then sell it at a profit. Fine. Since all the investments involve, right, risk, and since the investor wanted the broker to share in the risks as well as the profits, so then they would typically arrange such a fashion. Half the investment is considered a loan, and the other half is considered his property. Meaning, chetzi pikadon, v'chetzi, right, is milve, right? I mean, it's like his, right? So he says, since the broker puts the half that he borrowed back into the investment, he and the investor are now equal partners in it. The broker then buys and sells with it, and he tries to earn a profit. If it makes money, they each take half the profits. But if it loses money, each of them suffer half the losses. So it's mamash that he becomes like a half owner, right, in the investment. Okay. Now, although this means that the investor may get back more than what he gave to the broker, right? This is not an interest payment, since the extra money is profit from the investor's half of the investment, not from the loan. Okay, meaning it became his. It's not a loan. Okay, so he says, "En moshivin chenvani lemachzit eschar." So you cannot have a storekeeper sit and sell the produce in exchange for half of the rewards. Okay, that means basically you can't come and tell the storekeeper, "Here's the produce, sell it at a certain price, right, at a higher price, and then we split the profits." You can't do that. You can't give a storekeeper money. What? You're making the money in the middle. You're the middleman. You're like a retailer. That's what it is. Okay. Okay. Nor may one give a storekeeper money with which to buy products and to sell in exchange for half of the earnings, unless he's also making money. Meaning here, he has to be making money. Because if he's not making money, then you have a problem. Okay. So since they have an equal part, right? So he has to be making, meaning you have to pay him wages as well. By the way, this happens until today. So somebody is coming and let's say he's a partner in the restaurant. So now it can be that one of the partners is the one's working and then they split everything evenly, right? Because in such a case, it's going to be repeat. Because why in the world are you going to tell me, right, that now they're going to split it equally? At the end of the day, right? זה משהו אחר. עוד פעם, תשמע מה שאני אומר. לא דיברתי על שותף גדול. אותו דבר. That's exactly what the Mishnah just said. The Mishnah just said that if right now you're going to, again, we're not talking about silent partner. Silent partner, he gave the money and you give the work. So you're both investing. That's fine. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that they're both putting money. So if you're both putting money and all of a sudden only one of them is working, that would be considered a rebit. Because so he says you have to take a poel, right? One day. En moshivin tarnegolin lemechza, ve'en shamin agalin useachin lemechza. The same thing, you cannot give eggs to a farmer, right? To have his heads, again, they're going to be sitting on them, right? And then he's getting half of the profit. Ve'en shamin agalin useachin lemechza. You can assess the value of calves or colts, right? They're young horses. And give them to raise them for half the. Again, you have to give them the schar. What is the schar? You have to give the wages, salary, plus the food. Because again, I cannot give you something. I say, you know what? תעשה לי טובה. יש לי ביצים, יש לך את ה-chickens. אני נותן לך את הביצים, שתשב על ה-chickens, ה-chickens תשב על הביצים, יעשו את האפרוחים, ואז נחלק. No. You can't do that. You have to have, one second, you have to have, right? But you can accept calves or colts for half without first assessing the value, because again, you're not going to be responsible for half the losses. So therefore, since you're not receiving it as a loan, so there's no problem of you doing that. Meaning, again, one more time, as long as it's not on a loan, there's no rebate. Here it's not a loan, because if something happens, atalo chayav. And so if something happens, you're not going to be chayav. It's not a loan. So for you don't need to get, right, you don't need to receive this. Okay? Fine. Right? And you must raise the calves until they're going to be a third of their size. Right? Or a chamor until it's going to start carrying a load. Because that's when it's going to be that that it's considered that you're taking care of it. Okay? As we continue tomorrow.